Hey, it's Chris, the Hickory Algorithm. Hickory Algorithm is a podcast, community hub featuring the cultures, stories, and things that make Hickory, North Carolina the best. I'm here today with Lindsey Sandoval.
That was close, Chris. It's Sandoval. But you know what? I can't even roll my R's and it's a Spanish name. So
Well,
kudos to you.
I don't think there's been a guest that I've actually gotten right. Seriously, but I appreciate it. And we're here today with her, man, with EXP Realty.
Yes.
We are sitting in one of her listings in Charlotte in their living room. So I'm so excited for this, Lindsay. Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for having me, Chris. I'm pretty excited myself. I actually really love this listing and I'm really hoping that we could make an imprint and get some extra eyes here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. We're actually currently in the Starmount district of Charlotte, and we're not far from South Park, which is what makes this house have a lot of curb appeal, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you're quick to like great cafes, great restaurants, the hospital, which is always an interesting one. People I bring it up because I more times than not, I have clients who actually ask me, you know, I'm really looking for a house close to the hospital.
Really?
Yes. Especially as you move farther out into, more suburban, rural
Mm-hmm.
areas outside of the greater Charlotte metro. Whether it's like my husband's got a heart condition or, I have kids and, I have boys and they're gonna split their head
Like
open.
it's
I
coming.
just need to be close to a hospital.
You know, as a father of three teenage boys, that I get that, dude. I get that. That's. I just never would have thought that that would be something that I guess I probably should have thought about with three boys because, man, it's WWE in my house every day. So, Lindsay, I want to ask you a couple questions.
Mhm.
And we've talked a lot about
Yeah.
generational wealth. And it's something I know you're very, very passionate about. And so, why is that important to you, generational wealth?
Yeah, no, it's a really great question, Chris. I got started in the real estate business because I was passionate about real estate, but I was also really passionate about generational wealth. And like, what is that, right? Like,
Right.
it's the passing down of assets, investments, real estate, right? So that you can benefit your family, in the future, whether it be your children or your grandchildren. And doing so, like, what does that mean for like real estate, right? So the reason why I liked the idea of building generational wealth through real estate and like an investor as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just as much as I am a realtor, is to me is that real estate is tangible. Like other asset classes aren't necessarily tangible, right? Like you can go and trade things on the stock market and you can make your stock portfolio, you can
Mm-hmm.
have your kid be your beneficiary, but it's not necessarily tangible, right? It's just this kind of intangible trading, whether it's options or forex. But real estate is something that you physically can go onto, right? You can hand down to your client, your family, and your kids. And so, for me, um, my passion for real estate also stems from a personal passion, which is to grow my wealth. Having not had a lot as a child, not even I never lived in a house that my parents owned. They always rented. I grew up in California and to date, there are more renters in California than there are owners
Hmm.
because of affordability factors, right? And so I think back about me wanting to buy in California and making that a dream, and I felt like it was really out of reach at the time for a number of factors, but which eventually took me here to Charlotte, North Carolina, and um, I knew I wanted to have a family and I wanted to set them up to be better off than I was. And I think that that resonates with a lot of other people because I think you want your children to be a little bit better off
Right.
than you,
Right.
right? And so like how can you tee that up, right? You can do that through like cash flowing properties, which is immediate. You can do that through, purchasing a property, whether it be land or, houses or multifamily or even commercial. Like I have a number of my clients who are invested in commercial, right? And so the cash flow that comes out, that's like short-term income, like that's
Mm-hmm.
immediate. But like those properties are teed up to appreciate over time, which really helps, over legacies and generations.
So how does that, for someone like me that doesn't know a lot about real estate or being a realtor and the things that you go through, how does that translate, that vision translate directly to being a realtor, that generational wealth? Would you recommend almost like buying a property and then renting it out? Like that's literally all I think of when I hear like a
I
realtor
love
context.
this question. I love this question because, yes, a lot of people generally think like, okay, so I have this house that I purchased on
Mm-hmm.
my own, which is like, first of all, that's step number one of your investment. Like for all of those renters out there, like just get your foot in the door, buy your own house. If it's a single family house, it's a start. If you can buy a duplex, you can house hack. So like people are like, well, what's house hacking, right? So like, what if you bought a duplex and you could rent out the other side? It would be great if you could rent out the other side and the other person could pay your mortgage. But if they can't pay your mortgage, maybe they can pay part of your mortgage that would then allow you to keep away like some of your income, right? To invest into your next property. So like that's one type of a rental, right? But then maybe you have your own house and you go out and you want to buy a secondary home. Maybe you want to tee it up as a vacation rental, or maybe it's a long-term rental. So like both of those strategies are very different because if
Mm-hmm.
you have it a vacation rental, it will probably, depending on the location, yield more in income immediately than say something that might be a traditional rental, right? Which is your, 1 year, maybe 2 year lease. In which case, like where we're getting back to, right? It's income generation
Right.
so that you can put it back into what? Another property, right? And so, like, people come by properties a lot of different ways. Like, I think the one that most comes to mind is like, oh, I got to go out and I got to get a pre approval, right? And I've got to get a loan. And that's that. You can do it that way. You can also do it cash. But a lot of people, I think the biggest hurdle is like, I don't have enough money or I don't know how
Right.
to save, and
These are real.
it's
Right.
real. And it's actually probably more real right now than ever because a lot of people are feeling the pinch of inflation, right? High interest rates. There's a lot of people who are paying rent that is literally equal to a mortgage payment. And people are pinching pennies here and there. And so, like, what I would say to the first time home buyer is like, it would you need to have a little skin in the game, right? There's all this craziness going on the internet about like zero down programs.
Mm-hmm.
Zero down's really not zero down. Like you're still gonna have to pay for an appraisal. You're still gonna have to pay for an inspection. You'll probably have to give earnest money, and in North Carolina specifically, you'll probably put down due diligence money,
Yep.
which is very North Carolina specific. I just educated someone today about it who's coming in for California next week. I'm going to be showing them property, and it was like, what?
Right. It was like that for me when I came from Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
Like I was like, what's happening?
you want me to hand over money I don't get back?
Right. Like what's happening? Yeah.
Yes, yes, sir. That's right.
Yeah. Say it again, Chris, for the people in the back, please. Yeah. So, well, thanks, man. That helps me because when we talk about generational wealth and real estate and I think of just renting and things like that, it can be so much more.
There's so much
I
more.
know that's
We
a,
haven't even scratched it. So like, it's so funny. Like we talk about it in terms of houses, but like my
right.
recent client, it gets me even more excited. They actually flip land for a living. Yeah, I love your face right now. It's amazing. You're
Yeah.
like, how
Well,
do
you
you
saw
flip
my
land?
my my simple brain just sort of be like, oh, that's interesting. Wait, what?
Yeah. So land flipping, like the house we're sitting in right now, it's not a true flip. It's a remodel, right? Like they hired a company that I love locally who a property transformation team who comes in and they will literally do certain remodels, right? Like they might focus on a kitchen remodel, maybe new floors, maybe some bathrooms, maybe it's just minor, maybe it's just like a bathroom or a patch or whatever. But they do it and then they they actually are able to, if you don't have the cash up front, roll it into your closing so you can actually pay at closing when the house is sold, which gives some people a little bit of flexibility. But the reason why I say it is that like people flip houses, right? They come in. This is an older 1960s house.
Is that all?
It is. This is a nice.
I was gonna say, this is pretty nice, Lindsay.
This is a 1960s house that's been fully remodeled, and you wouldn't even know the difference. And it's a true testament to the work that property transformation team does, but also other clients like mine who flip houses for a living, right? They come in, they're buying houses for a distressed price, right? They're distressed. So like they tend to be vastly under market, and then they're coming in and they're putting money into it to get it market ready so that it fetches a higher price. So then they are literally in a house for no more than maybe, I would say 2 to 6 months. It just depends on like how extensive the remodel is. So their exit strategy is very quick, and most of them come in and they do like hard money loans, or they'll do cash, or they'll do DSCR loans in a combo of cash, so that they're getting it under contract. They're making payments on a mortgage, which really are oftentimes like interest payment only, just enough so that they can remodel it, flip it, and put a sign in the yard, and then send it, sell it for a higher price.
Yep.
And then they've now pulled what, 20, 50, $100,000 in 2 to 6 months on a flip. So that's one way of generating income that's not a rental. But land flipping is very similar.
I want to hear all about this.
So land flipping is very similar.
Like take out the trees, like sort of like do. This is
Yeah,
how I'm guessing this
Yeah.
is, and believe me, it's
it's a
gonna be
great
wrong.
question.
But it's one of those things where it's like they take out the trees, the stumps, and then they sort of like like and they flatten it and level it out. Is that
Well,
what
that's
all goes
grading.
into it, or
Yeah, so that's grading a property, right?
makes
But like,
sense.
let me do this. So land flipping is an interesting concept that has taken. I mean, I don't want to say it's new, but I would definitely say that it's become trendier probably in the last 5 to 8 years. And they will buy distressed land, oftentimes property from people who have inherited it through tax lien or tax deed sales. So maybe somebody got it in probate, or maybe it was just an owner who stopped paying their taxes, right? Because a lot of land, the way that it's financed, if you have to truly understand it, usually you're buying land in cash, or either you're buying land with like 20 to 50% down. So oftentimes when you buy land, like it's a shorter loan or mortgage time if you are financing it, because it's not truly a mortgage on it. It's financed differently. So the people who are coming in and buying it are buying it distressed, like I said, through tax liens, tax deed sales, through owners who, they're holding this piece of land. A lot of people don't realize this, but when you have land, depending on whether it's in city limits or county limits, if you have to maintain it, even if there ain't nothing on it. Like if your lawn get too long, like you're gonna get hit with fines. They're gonna come get you. And that gets really costly, especially to somebody who's holding on to land that maybe never built on it or inherited it. So my clients will come in, they'll buy it from them, either off market or on market. Most of the time it's off market, for below market price. And then depending on how large it is, if it's a really large parcel, like 24 acres, 50, 60 acres, they may decide to subdivide it if it's subdividable. Or, I mean, they do have to do a little bit more work, right? Like they're coming in, they'll take like soil suitability tests, like if it's out in the country, and see if whether or not the soil's right for septic tanks, whether they can put a well on it. So they do all this kind of upfront analysis of it. And then they decide, hey, if we can subdivide it, we can subdivide this property and obviously make a lot more with subdivided lots. Or because we bought it at X and now we've done the little research and this person really didn't know what it was worth, and we'll just turn around and sell it for this, which is just a little bit below market rate, and make a return on it.
Wow.
So sometimes when I talk about subdividing will oftentimes could be a combination of clearing and running roads, but it really is a strategic analysis process that they go through. And like they'll pick it up, they'll vet it ahead of time, see if the numbers work for them. Obviously, like a lot or a piece of land or acreage that's in city limits, I mean, that would be gold, because everybody wants to be able to connect to utilities. That's an easy
Yes.
sell, so to speak, right? Like if you can connect to city water and sewer and it's a $5,000 tap fee, that's much easier than coming in and putting a septic and then, digging a well.
Yeah. Right.
It doesn't, I mean, there's all these little factors that impact it, but um my people that I've been working with, which really gets me juiced. And the reason why I like it, to be honest with you, I was in property management before.
Mm-hmm.
I hate being a property manager. I often told people, well, the only properties I would manage anymore is if they were my own. And truthfully,
You would
the
probably pay somebody else to do
there's no way.
it.
It's just no way. There's just no way. Um, no, nobody wants to get a call that there's a toilet or a plumbing problem. Or this is literally my last property management issue. Are you ready for it? Squirrels in the attic. That was the call that I got from the tenant. Lindsey, there are squirrels in the attic. I'm like, are you sure? They're probably mice. So I go over there and I'm like, there's mice dropping. Seems like no. He literally pulls up his phone. The squirrel is coming in from the eaves. And then I learned something really interesting about squirrels that I didn't know before. If a mother squirrel gives birth to baby squirrels, those baby squirrels will come back and also use their mother's nest for their baby squirrels.
So you're just kicking these poor babies out of their.
Well, it's not just like a matter of like laying down bait and traps. Like you literally have to have somebody come out, set traps. They have to come out every day to check said traps. And because of like, I guess PETA and like humanitarian, like, I don't know,
like just
animal rights.
Yeah.
They have to move them across a body of water. And I was like, what?
What?
Yeah. This one really tripped me out. I was like, really? They're like, yeah, like they won't actually like cross a river or a lake. So we just take them and we kind of like let them off on the other side. So they can't find their way back.
Bingo card today to find. I didn't know I was gonna get
squirrel
knowledge.
Yeah, so I be a little off here, but like there's
awesome.
reasons why I won't be a property manager, and that's not even the worst of it. I mean, like honestly, you do with property management, a lot of people don't like to talk about eviction, and eviction is super tough. And I'm a compassionate person. I'm not cold, but like as a property manager, like my duty is to my client. Who's my client? My client is the landlord. Yes, I'm held to being fair and equal housing, fair and equal housing for the tenant and observing tenant right laws. But if you're not paying your rent, you need to find another place to live.
And so would you like ding 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 ding, like how intense was that kind of eviction process? Like that
So it's really interesting because we're sitting in Charlotte, and I will say that Charlotte's got definitely some more pro tenant policies around eviction. So it's a little bit more difficult for a landlord to get a tenant out in Charlotte. It just is a longer process, but in surrounding counties or even crossing the state line, like you have to file with the county or the city and formally that the tenant hasn't paid. You have to provide record that they have not paid, right? And then like I think back to a situation in Rock Hill, because I'm licensed in South Carolina as well. And I go and you submit your permit, and then the constable comes and posts a big, or in this case, in like North Carolina, it'd be the sheriff will come and like post a note and be like, hey, you've got X amount of days to get out. And we're going to come back on this day. And if you're not there, so in North Carolina, like if they come back and your stuff's still in the house and you haven't moved out as a tenant, the landlord is required to hold on to your stuff, whether they move it off site or they keep it in the house for X amount of days to allow you to come back, but you have to exit the property physically. You can carry whatever you can out on your back, but like if the place is locked up, you can't get back in, and you have to like formally make like an appointment to come back with the police to get your stuff. In South Carolina, the constable shows up on that day. you haven't moved your stuff out, your landlord should have somebody there with them, which in my case is, this one tugs at my heartstrings because, man, I don't like doing this. But like, I literally had a moving team there to clear out this person's house, and they stack all of your stuff on the side of the road, and you have 5 days, rain or shine, to come and get your stuff on the side of the road. And if you don't, I'll get a call from the city or the county, and they'll be like, hey, you got stuff. You need to move it.
Get this stuff.
And so then you as the landlord or the property manager on the land are now absorbing the cost of junking all this person's stuff. And it's a tough spot to be in because especially if there's kids involved, like that one's really tough because nobody wants to be in that spot, you know? Mm-hmm. I just my heart aches for children, but also their parents. I mean, everybody's got a different situation, but that's why I really like this idea of land flipping because there's no houses on it.
Well, then you have me. Like that means with no trees, right? Like, yeah, like, that shows how much I know about it.
Well,
that's called grading, Chris. Like, thanks. Thanks.
This is about a lot of education and learning, but no, it's great. No, I'm really kind of making a shift to more land investments myself and like commercial.
Yeah.
And because commercial for me, there's a lot less emotion involved behind it, right?
Right. It's
like
just it's sort of a little more cut and dry.
It is. It's business, man. You either got the money or you don't got the money. And if you don't got the money, you need to move out.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Like, sink or float. Plus, there's a very different vetting process, right? Like, if a business goes to acquire space, like, we're looking at their books, right? We're looking at their income. Right. Like, if you're in a retail space, like oftentimes you're paying rent, and then you can also pay like a percentage of any of the like sales that you're doing. Yeah. Like there's so many different structures. Personally, I like triple net leases on the commercial side. Because basically you pass everything on to your tenant. It's amazing. If you're a like an owner and a landlord, that's where I'd be all day, all long, because basically you just sit back and collect a check.
That's great, dude.
There's some kind
dream.
of
that's the dream. Yeah.
There's still some kind of like asset management, but like land leases and like triple net, like that's the ultimate like lazy man's like investment game.
Just a layup, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
So you said South Carolina. Are you North Carolina, South? Is there any other states that you're licensed in?
Yes, so I'm actually also licensed in California. And I don't want to take the spotlight off the fact that I'm a realtor, but I also am a loan officer in 50 states.
Of course she is.
But yeah, no, I hail from California. I was born and raised in California. I'm like 4 generations from California, Northern California.
Holy man.
And so I got my start in California doing commercial, working for CBRE and Cushman and Wakefield, and took that and decided to come to Charlotte, North Carolina after some personal motivation. Yeah. Wasn't really planning on landing here, but I did. And actually the first deal that I did here in Charlotte was a commercial deal, ironically, in Rock Hill. Like, what? Or coincidentally, however you look at it. Yeah, it really was. It was like it was like a referral that came in. They actually worked and had a job at a local corporation, but they had already built like a gym down in Columbia. And then their vision was like, hey, we want to build our commercial portfolio so that we can like basically leave our corporate jobs, which is, by the way, a lot of my clients who get started in it. They're just like, look, I on the down low do not like my job. And I need to find a way to get out of here so that I can earn an income.
What's your nudge at that point? What do you say? You're just like, well, is that how that goes?
Yeah. Well, a lot of them, have already thought about it because I think, let's be honest. It's like the real estate market has like changed incredibly in the last 20 years, if not in the last 30 years. Like with with the invention of the internet. I say that with the
Right.
invention of the
Yeah,
internet.
my kids, I say that to them, and they're like, there was a time when there was no internet. They also say I was born in the 1900s, but like, sorry, I digress. But you're right.
Yeah, but I say that because, obviously the internet was a connection to other individuals and created a marketplace, especially a marketplace
Mm-hmm.
for, real estate. You've got Realtor, you've got Zillow, you've got Homes.com, right? Oftentimes, whether you're a first time home buyer, somebody who's getting ready to buy their second home, they got to sell their home, like the traditional client, if you're an investor, like that's where you're going for your information.
Mm-hmm.
Like that might be your start. And then you're scrolling on Instagram and
Yep.
suddenly they pick up your algorithm and every guru out there on how to leave your job by building your real estate portfolio
Mm-hmm.
is in your head. So now you're like, okay, well, what's this wholesaling? Can I do a wholesaling?
Right.
Land flipping houses, buy holds, which is essentially rentals, right? Um, you might do like an investment group, like a REIT. There's a bunch of different places now where you can buy into small portfolios. So you can literally take well, I can only allocate like $1,000, but I can throw it into this group and like they'll pay me a dividend every couple of months or a payout at the end of the year. And I can just like, every time I get paid, just allocate more
Hmm.
to my portfolio. So like there's so many ways to build wealth through real estate. I mean, it's kind of incredible. But yeah, I mean, subject to is another thing that a lot of people are doing too now, which is a way to get distressed properties. You're somebody who struggling to make their mortgage payment. So
Mm.
this person on the street comes off and you're like, "Hey, I like your house. Would you be interested in maybe selling it to me?" "Oh, yeah, sure." "Oh, cool. How about you sign over the deed to me and I'll make your mortgage payment?"
What?
Oh, yeah.
This is wild, dude.
Wild out there, which is why I'm just going to give a plug to realtors and all the people out there who are,
Like, no, we don't need realtors. They don't
yeah.
need. They don't. Do you know how there's a guy on my street that has had his home for sale by owner.
uh-huh. For like a year.
Exactly. You are absolutely right. And it's like, dude, you need them. You know what I mean? People talking about like, oh, I can do it myself. I'm like, look, man, like, how much do you know? Like, just from us talking right now, I clearly know that I will always need a realtor because I don't know any of those things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, people think that realtors are just sitting around waiting for the phone to ring. But it's like, but that's like
Yeah.
that's what people think that's not in the game. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So to hear you say that, you said what, Project 2? What was the name of that?
Subject
Yeah,
to.
like that
Yeah.
sounds like a alien movie. Do you know what I mean? That's Subject 2. You said I've never even heard of that before. So us sitting right here talking about
There's actually a lot of people who haven't heard of subject to, but it is actually, so it's interesting. I kid you not, like probably about 9 months ago, I'm driving down to my listing in like Morven, out in the cuts, and I'm getting tons of people calling me on this listing because it's like literally out in the middle of nowhere. And a lot of them were subject to, and they're like, "Hey, can I buy this?" I'm like, "No, this is a relocation. Sorry." But the reason why is because it was kind of price low and it was kind of like out in the middle of the country. So you don't know a whole lot when you're shopping on the internet, right? You see a price and then there might be like a description, and unless it's like investor special,
right,
like there's nothing glary. You might look at the pictures and be like, this house needs a little bit of work. Maybe these people are in distress. Like you could make all kinds of wild
right,
assumptions. Like,
right.
let's be honest, a lot of us could sit at home and just like literally watch the news or look over our fence and make wild assumptions about our neighbors. Like, or in a coffee shop. Like, have you ever sat? Like, I used to do this. I used to go out to dinner with people, like good friends, and I'd be like, "Hey, what do you think about that couple over there?"
I did this with my brother at Barnes and Noble. Shout out, Bob. But we did. We would go there and be like, "What do you think that is?" You know what I mean? What
Yeah,
do you think's going
yeah.
on over there?
You're like, you think there's a divorce happening right now?
Yeah,
They're arguing.
it's
She's
not love.
clearly upset.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, do you think that's actually a couple, or do you think that's a mistress, you know?
Ooh, you would have been way more fun than me and my brother sitting there.
Oh, I'm bad. Like, is that a husband or and a wife do, or is that her father? I
That's a
mean,
blurred line right there, dude.
I'm just saying, or is that his mother? Because that's like a big thing right now that's trending.
What's
Totally
that?
get off
No,
topic,
no. What?
but like
Mom and
older women dated younger men.
yeah, that's crazy. I've never.
Like,
That's like
go cougar.
yeah, that's never been. That's never. I've never known anybody. I've heard about it. You know what I mean? But I've never known anybody to do that. But Lindsay, I want to tell you, this is so bittersweet with sitting in here because I want this house to sell.
Yeah.
You guys did such a good job. Who staged this was great, and the people that you said 1960s, and it's not that. Um, but I sort of it's bittersweet for me because I sort of don't want the house to sell because I want it to be there for when the podcast release, and
Oh.
at the other side of that, I want it to sell because that's what we're doing. I
Yeah, I
want to
mean
sit.
that's what I'm in. I'm
Yeah.
in the business of selling property, whether it be houses,
Yeah.
commercial land. I mean, like, yeah, I wanted to sell. And I actually think that we are on the brink of getting this bad boy under contract.
That'd be awesome. I can't wait. We have to go get a coffee when
Yes.
it does happen, or go to Fresh Chef or something.
Oh,
But
I'm
you
about
know what I
that
mean. We
life.
got to do
Yeah.
that. So
Little celebration.
thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you, Chris.
So this is Chris with the Hickory Algorithm. Please do something for the love of the game. Do something you're passionate about. Go out and just do it. This is Chris with the Hickory Algorithm. You guys have a good day.